thanks for coming. Exciting day for Beaver Nation. We're ready to go here. President Ray, the floor is yours.
Good, thank you very much. Thank you all for being here today. This is really, really exciting. I'm just delighted to have Scott Barnes and his wife Jody, and I think Milana and Isaac will be here in and out as part of Beaver Nation. It's just a wonderful, wonderful experience bringing such a fine and accomplished colleague here to join us. I have, and I know you really want to hear all 23 of my talking points, but I think I'll spare you on that. The first thing I want to do is thank some people. Mary Ann, where are you? Mary Ann Vidra has served really extraordinarily well as the interim vice president and athletic director now twice in the last 15, 16 months, and we're very grateful to her for the work she's done. And I know there are some folks here from the search committee. I saw Pat Casey a little while ago, Tanya Chaplin here. I know there are some others. I want to thank each of you for the work you did in the search process. The search was chaired by Joey Spatafora. I don't know how many of you know this, but Joey is actually a distinguished university professor. We pick 2 per year from the entire university to honor in his own right as a biologist. He's one of our most outstanding faculty. He also serves as our faculty athletic representative. So when we talk about academics and athletics, and they're 2 parts of the same learning opportunities for young people, we're very serious about it. We have quality people involved. Let me get serious just for a moment. Here at Oregon State University, we understand that our graduates are the most important contribution that we make to the future. We work very hard to prepare our students to be able to compete with anybody, anywhere, anytime in their chosen careers and in service to their communities. And that includes our student athletes. We prepare them to excel academically and on the field. And it's very important to me that we have people who understand those propositions and are committed to them. Scott Barnes is someone who has demonstrated everywhere he's been that he's committed to helping student athletes be among the very best at whatever they choose to do academically and certainly on the field of competition. And I know he's going to make a tremendous, tremendous difference here. Some of you, no doubt, have questions about the search. We can get into that. In the Q&A, we interviewed some, or rather, we had files on 4 dozen different leaders in college athletics, some professional folks that we talked to about the athletic director position. We interviewed a number of people off-site, the ever popular airport interviews, they're called, not always at airports. And they included men and women and people of color, just an extraordinary group of people. But I think it was clear to me as the process went forward that the person we needed to meet us where we are and where we aspire to go is Scott Barnes. And I couldn't be happier with the process we've gone through and the results we were able to achieve. Scott accomplished great things himself as a student athlete, and everywhere he's been, he's a proven performer in terms of exciting fans and alumni and those who support athletic programs. We need someone at this point in time to help us move this program to the next level. I honestly believe he can do that. I tell colleagues in other settings, and sometimes it's hard to believe, especially when you're on a roll, that the best is yet to come. But I honestly believe the best is yet to come for all of Oregon State University's efforts, but certainly in the athletic arena, and Scott Barnes is the guy who's going to get us there. So I'd ask you to join me before you hear from Scott, and before you grill him, to join me in a nice round of applause to welcome Scott. And Jody's here to Corvallis and Oregon State University.
Thank you. Thanks so much, President Ray. Very, very excited, both Jody and I, to be here and be part of Beaver Nation. I do want to thank you, President Ray, for selecting me. It's an incredible honor, and one that we're humbled by, and one that we can't wait to get started with. I also want to thank Joey Spatafora and the search committee for advancing me, and Jeff Schemmel in the process as well. We, again, are delighted to be here. We'll be, the trek out will include actually 4 family members. Jody, my wife of 28 years, is with me today. And President Ray, I appreciate the fact that you gave me a multi-year contract, because after 28 years, Jody tends to renew me 1 year at a time. And I certainly outkicked my coverage there. We have a daughter, beautiful daughter, Milana, that will be joining us in the spring, and my son, who is halfway through his basketball season, senior year at North Allegheny, will be making a springtime decision on where he goes, but he will be in Corvallis for sure for a time. Want to add one more thing. As fate would have it, we have a 8-year-old golden doodle by the name of Benny. Okay, so Benny the golden doodle will need to be coached up by Benny the beaver. I can promise you that as we move forward. Both Jody and I are products of an incredible student-athlete experience ourselves, being at the Division I level, hailing from Fresno State as student-athletes, and I do need to set the record straight. Jody is by far the better student-athlete. She was a runner-up in the Big West in the high jump 2 years in a row, and as for me, I was one of those guys trying to find his way as a defensive stopper, and probably the best way to explain that is my time, a 2-game series against the Beavers back during the Ralph Miller era, when I had a chance to guard both the great Charlie Sinton and A.C. Green. Held A.C. to 32. Of course, by then halftime had rolled around, and I was able to regroup. I don't know if it was that bad, but it felt that bad. When you think about Oregon State, and we obviously thought a lot about this job, I want to talk to you about why Oregon State, and as importantly, why now. And first of all, when I think about what I've learned about this place, and not only what we've known from competing here as both an administrator and a student athlete in years past, but when we think about the trajectory that President Ray and his team has the university on now, and we think about the great coaches that are in place, and we think about a president who, by the way, when you're an athletic director, is so key to have a president that understands what a vibrant Power 5 program can do to help advance the mission of a university. That's so critical to the success of an athletic director, and we couldn't be more thrilled. President Ray, as you know, has served at the highest level of NCAA leadership. He gets it, and so we are excited for that partnership as we move forward. The athletic program itself is on good footing. Some solid coaches. Those that came before me, Bob, Todd, and others, have done a great job of putting it in the position it now sits. A platform that is the Pac12 that will assist in helping us move the enterprise forward. Timing is also an interesting dynamic, and for us, being back out in the Pacific Northwest, born in Spokane, Washington, spent most of my career in the West and the Pacific Northwest, to be back out in the Pacific Northwest is an absolute no-brainer. Timing-wise, both the open window of opportunity that came to us here recently and some critical family issues, including some health issues, gave us the opportunity to move back now and take care of those things. We have family from Northern California to Washington and everywhere in between. So we're happy to be home and couldn't be more excited about that. When we think about what's next here at Oregon State, priority number one will always be the student-athlete experience. That means a lot of things. It means that there's a lot of pieces to that. But as we think about what we'll concentrate on, and as we think about a plan for the future, and we will have a plan, a comprehensive strategic plan that will be all in all the time by our staff, our student-athlete leaders, our coaches will all own the plan. It'll include the following areas, and I want to paint a broad brush stroke because as we get into the planning process, all hands on deck to handle the specifics. Let me give you 4 areas that we'll focus our time on as we think about a plan for the future. One is the academic success. Obviously, that comes in the form of academic progress rates. It comes in the form of graduation success rates. It also comes in the form of what our student athletes do after they graduate. Once they have that degree in their hand, are they placed in full-time jobs? Are they in graduate school? We'll be tracking that. We'll be working very hard to make sure that we're successful in that endeavor. Obviously, competition, as you think about what's happening now, we have teams that are entering the Final Four. We've had national championships. How do we sustain and grow that? We'll be working hard with our coaches to create strategic partnerships with them to make sure that we're facilitating their success by providing the resources that they need to move forward. And developing new resources, right? The engine, as part of that strategic plan, is our ability to go out and find new revenue streams and to be creative, collaborative, and a partnership all along the way. We can't do it by ourselves. Beaver Nation has been outstanding. We'll need to continue to grow them and to have Beaver Nation come on board for the future, and we'll work hard at engaging them. We'll listen to our fans. The best way that we can improve the fan experience is by understanding exactly what they're looking for in an experience. And so we'll make great strides in making sure we do that. And in the process, unifying both the fan base and our coaches and student athletes along the same mission and along the same plan as we move forward. I couldn't be more excited about the opportunity before us. It's great to be home. And with that, I'm all yours.
Remember, please introduce yourself. We have Wyoming flags for your first question. Danny?
Scott, Danny Moran with the Oregonian.
Hi, Danny.
Nice to meet you.
You as well.
A lot's been made about your connection to Gary Anderson, obviously initially hiring him at Utah State. What relationship have you maintained with Gary since he left Utah State, and what factor did he play in your decision to come here?
So Gary is a friend. Gary is somebody that I have a great relationship with him, Jody and I, and his wife and Stacy. In terms of factor, you know, here's what is important: is Gary represents what so many of our coaches at Oregon State represent: a high level of integrity, unbelievable care factor for the student athlete, and a plan for success. And so, when I think about Oregon State, I think whether it's Gary Anderson or any number of coaches at Oregon State, I think about the same thing. I think about these are leaders with great capacity. These are coaches with high care factor. These are coaches that understand what our mission is, and I can't wait to work with all of them.
Kerry Eggers from the Portland Tribune, welcome. You've been involved in some major fundraising projects through most of your stops. Talk about your focus there and what will be your philosophy?
So, Kerry, you know, it obviously the business enterprise of what we do is really important. Fundraising, whether it's major gift or annual fund, is critical to our success. And so as we think about ways to move our program forward, we've got to be all in all the time in fundraising. And, you know, as we think about our best opportunities to succeed, rising tides lift all ships. And so we think about the programs like football and basketball, who have the largest capacity to grow, and not just the direct revenue, but the ancillary revenues around those programs. So we'll work very, very hard at that. I've been in athletic administration 27 years, 17 years as an AD, but all 27 as a fundraiser. And I'm excited about the opportunity.
Scott, Austin Meek with the Register Guard in Eugene.
Nice to meet you, Austin.
Good to meet you. Obviously, there's been a little turnover here at the AD position. How important do you think it is to bring some stability now? And did you see this as a destination, as a place you could potentially spend the rest of your career?
Absolute destination, and so let's define that for a minute. What does that mean? What a destination job means is can you accomplish the things that you want to accomplish together, win championships, go to postseason, graduate your student athletes at an incredibly high level, have a quality of life that you want to have for your coaches and your student athletes. We can do all that. This is absolutely a destination job. There's no question about it. You had another part of your question. What was the other part?
Just the importance of having some stability.
Yeah, the stability, thank you. Really important, and obviously I'll be the third athletic director, not counting Mary Ann, in just a couple years. And so that stability is really important, and I think the best way to move forward in terms of building our team is to be collaborative, transparent, and build that trust as we move along. We can't get this done. I can't get this done by myself. President Ray can't get it done by himself, and our staff certainly by themselves. We've got to work together. We've got to be smart, effective, and work together. And if we're doing that, then that stability is brought forth as well, because there's an all-in ownership in what we're doing, and we'll work very hard at that.
Scott, Jonathan Style, KEZI 9 News in Eugene.
Hi, John.
Welcome. What excited you about coming to the Pac-12 conference, and what does that mean, coming from the outside, seeing that conference and the challenges that comes with being so competitive?
Yeah, and I think that's part of the excitement, right, is turning those challenges into opportunities. And the Pac-12, the platform the Pac-12 is incredible in terms of the success in Olympic sports and across the board, really. So, our ability to be successful in the Pac-12 is something that creates a sense of urgency, and I'm excited about that. Waking up every day, working with our coaches and our staff to methodically plan to figure out how to do that, but then create a sense of urgency around that. It's a big time conference, and Oregon State's a big time institution.
Scott, Mike Parker, radio play-by-play announcer for the Beavers.
Hi,
Welcome to Beaver Nation.
This will be a softball then, right?
Of course, yeah. I'm an in-house guy, absolutely. But Scott, I am wondering about your years at Washington, 05 through 08, if I read the timeline correctly. And those were challenging football years for the Huskies in that time. So just what you learned in raising funds for them in a time when things were not going so well in football.
No, that's a great question. It's really about a bigger vision, and I think what we have to remember is that there's a cyclical nature around all of our programs at times, and we are building for stability and sustainability in our programs. But painting a picture of a vision that can capture your alumni base, your Beaver Nation nationally in terms of your vision for what you want to do, and getting the buy-in there is critical. And then, as I like to say, turning over rocks every day. You've got to build a pipeline, and as you are out turning over those rocks and creating new relationships, you're selling that vision, you're growing that pipeline, and ultimately you're ready for success when success comes.
Just to that end, I know obviously your last day at Pitt is still to come. Have you been able to establish any relationships with donors here to this point, or try to develop new relationships? And also, when will your last day be at Pitt?
So my last day will be February 12th. We've got some personal and professional things to tie up there, and then we'll be moving out. We have not, we've spent very little time at Oregon State to this point, so we've got some work to do. In fact, we're talking this morning and looking forward to making some calls even next week to some of our key constituents to just introduce myself and say hello. So that's in the works.
Just walking around the building, you obviously can tell there's construction going on. What's your impression of the facilities projects that are underway here, and maybe some priorities you have in terms of facilities?
First of all, I think Coach Casey had it right. Scotty said, when you think about the athletic footprint, you can throw a baseball from one facility to the other. That's how tight it is. And that's special, because what that does, that creates a student-athlete experience. You're together, right? And so, as I haven't toured this building, but I've seen it online, I've read about it. phenomenal. This facility will compete with anybody in the country. I'm really impressed overall. Obviously, we've got some heavy lifts and we've got some smaller things to do over time, and we'll capture all that in a facilities master plan. We'll go out 10 years and really connect with the university's plans, really dial that in and understand what's coming. But I really like the bones. We've got some great bones. Practice facilities, you know, Coach Casey's done a wonderful job with a very iconic baseball facility and adding to that. And I think the key is what's next and how do we get there. And there's always a what's next. So we'll work really hard at creating that plan to understand what those priorities are and how we'll fund them.
When you were the chair of the NCAA basketball tournament committee, how valuable was that experience in your career and being able to listen to a lot of different voices around the nation?
A lot of free advice, right? And a bullseye painted on my forehead every day. I'll tell you the 5-year commitment to that committee and then chaired it the last year, more than anything, the quality of the professionals that have become lifetime friends around the room. That experience is something I'll never forget. And you learn something every day from folks when you're locked in a room with them for a long, long time. And we were sequestered for a long time. But unbelievable experience. It's one of those things that you're so excited that you had the opportunity to do, and you're kind of glad it's in the rearview mirror because it took a long time it took a large commitment. But, you know, overall, you know, having to face, when you think about, you know, you're trying to get 68 teams in and you're dealing with literally hundreds of teams to try to narrow that down, and you've got questions that are shot at you, you better be ready. You better do your homework, and you better listen to the people around you to get ready for that. And I think those are some of the takeaways.
Hey, hi, Scott. John Warren with KEJL Radio. We are the station for in town here for the Beavers. Are you a big change guy? What happens when you come into a job like this, and is it putting your stamp on it or letting things go and observe? How does that work?
It's a great question. And so when we think about what that first 100 days even looks like, we'll use an assessment instrument that will be a bit of a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, to get a lay of the land from all sorts of folks: coaches, student athlete leadership, our constituents, donors. Want to get a pulse of where we sit. That'll be the assessment opportunity for me. And now we won't make any changes anytime soon. We'll get a lay of the land. We'll understand where people sit, make sure folks are on the right seat, on the right bus, and move from there. But absolutely a methodical assessment before any changes are made.
Scott, I know economic efficiency is something that you got a lot of credit for at Utah State. I know Oregon State here operated at a deficit for a couple years. How big a priority is economic efficiency for you coming in here?
You know, it's an interesting thing that there's an academy out of Texas A&M that named, when I was at Utah State, it named us a national champion for economic efficiency based on dollars spent and championships won. And I said, thank you very much for that championship, but I would like to be about 20th next year because we don't have enough of resources. We need to build our resources. So if we have to spend more to do that, we need to do that. So there's this notion, there's this balance between being really good stewards of the funds you have, and we want to be accountable to our donors and our stakeholders every day in terms of being really good stewards. But we need to build revenues. We need to give our coaches the resources they need to compete at the highest level. And that means building the resources, being great stewards of what you have, but continuing to build those resources. And when we clarify expectations in the planning process, we'll know where we sit, and then we need to know what we need, our coaches need to be successful. So being good stewards is really important, and creating new revenue streams to grow that is really important.
President Ray, for you, obviously the decision was made, I think 2 days before Scott was officially hired to extend Gary Anderson's contract. Just can you talk a little about that decision before the new athletic director would be in place?
Well, I think I wanted to send a very clear message. I think Gary Anderson's the guy. You watch our players on the field, and you watch the heart and the intensity and the passion that they bring to the game. And for those of you who can reflect back a couple of years, we're in a very different place. And I talk to fans a lot, and I've talked to players and others. Players who said they never worked so hard and they love it. And we're heading in the right direction. So I wanted there to be absolutely no doubt that I have tremendous confidence in Gary and his team, his coaches, the players, and where they're taking that program, and to make it clear that he's going to have the time he needs to take things to the next level, because I know he will.
Anything else? I think you've answered all the questions. Thank you both very much.
Go Beavs.
Go Bees!
On cue, right?